Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something that's shaking up the financial markets right now. And I mean really shaking things up. Last Friday, something historic happened. The Supreme Court struck down President Trump's sweeping tariff plan in a 6-3 decision. Gold jumped almost $100, silver surged over $5, and this is just the beginning. Now you might be thinking, why does a court ruling about trade policy matter for precious metals? Well, stick with me for the next 16 minutes, because I'm going to break down exactly why this ruling is the mother of all uncertainty. And why uncertainty is pure rocket fuel for gold and silver prices. We're going to cover three massive things today. First, why this Supreme Court decision creates unprecedented chaos in the markets. Second, what President Trump's response means. And third, the refund crisis that nobody's talking about that could send $289 billion back into circulation. By the end of this video, you'll understand why some experts are calling this a monetary earthquake, and why silver and gold might be your best protection against what's coming next. So let's dive in. Let me start by explaining what actually happened with this Supreme Court ruling, and more importantly, why it matters. On Friday, the Supreme Court ruled that President Trump exceeded his presidential powers under the IEEPA. The court said that broad tariffs on imports don't qualify under this emergency power. 6 justices agreed, 3 dissented. And just like that, the entire tariff framework collapsed. Now here's where it gets interesting for gold and silver investors. Gold futures climbed to $5,094. Silver futures hit $83.03. Why? Because uncertainty is gold's best friend. And this ruling just opened the floodgates of uncertainty. Think about it. Before the ruling, companies knew what tariffs they had to pay. They could plan. Now, nobody knows. Will there be new tariffs? Will the old ones come back? Will companies get refunds? These are questions without answers. And when investors face questions without answers, they run to safety. That safety is gold and silver. These assets exist outside the chaos of political decisions. They don't depend on court rulings or congressional votes. An analyst put it perfectly. He said, "To the degree that the rally has been aided by uncertainty, this adds a new dose." Markets hate uncertainty more than they hate bad news. Bad news you can plan for. Uncertainty keeps executives up at night. It freezes investment decisions, it makes everyone nervous. And nervous investors buy gold. They buy silver. They want something tangible, something that's been money for 5,000 years, something that won't disappear. But there's another layer. This Supreme Court decision exposed the fragility of executive power. Bonds depend on government. Stocks depend on stability. Gold and silver, they depend on nothing but supply and demand. And right now, demand is going through the roof. So what happened next? President Trump didn't just walk away. Within hours, he announced a new plan. A 10% tariff on all imports. But here's the difference. This isn't using the same emergency powers. The administration is looking at different legal authorities, different justifications, different approaches. We're entering a period where tariff policy could change every few weeks. International trade becomes a legal minefield. Imagine you import electronics from Asia. Last month, you paid one set of tariffs. Next week, you don't know. This is happening across every industry. Every company that touches trade is dealing with this chaos. And here's what that chaos does. It slows down economic activity. It creates inflation pressure. When the economy gets unstable, precious metals shine, literally. Gold is the hedge against chaos. Industrial demand for silver adds another layer. Silver is essential for data centers, critical for AI. It's used in computer systems and renewable energy technology. Industries still need silver. Price increases have more to do with industry in the Middle East than just tariffs, but tariffs amplify it all. If you're already worried about supply chains and inflation, tariff chaos confirms every fear you have. The new 10% tariff keeps uncertainty alive. Every day people are wondering, will it last? Will it get struck down? That constant state of not knowing is exhausting for the economy, but it's incredibly bullish for gold and silver. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the refund crisis that could dwarf everything we've discussed. As of January 2026, the government collected $289 billion in tariff revenue. Now that the tariffs were struck down, a massive question emerges. Do companies get that money back? This money didn't disappear. The government spent some. Companies raised prices. Consumers paid the bill. If courts ultimately rule that refunds are required, we're looking at potentially the largest refund operation in American history. There's no timeline. The system isn't designed to process this much. Tens of thousands of companies, millions of transactions. Legal experts warn any rush could overwhelm the system. Delays of months or years are likely. Companies will be disappointed. Who actually gets the refund? The companies who paid or the consumers who paid higher prices because of it? Imagine an electronics company paid $10 million in tariffs. They raised prices. Consumers paid. Now they get a refund? That's not going to sit well with consumers, or with politicians, or with anyone paying attention. On the flip side, if refunds don't happen, companies are stuck. They paid for tariffs the court says were illegal. Either way, someone's upset. And then there's the inflation implications. If the money flows back, what happens? Companies will invest, pay dividends, or buy back stock. All that puts money back into circulation, money once locked up. At the same time, prices haven't come down. Prices are sticky on the way down. More money chasing the same goods. That's the textbook definition of inflation pressure. And what happens when inflation fears rise? You guessed it. Gold and silver go up. What if the government refuses? That's a crisis of confidence. If they keep illegal collections, what about property rights? This is why experts call this a monetary earthquake. It's about the entire framework of trust in our financial system. When trust shakes, gold and silver benefit. They don't require government promises. They have intrinsic value. Let me tie this together. We're seeing multiple forces converge to create what might be the perfect storm. First, uncertainty. Second, Trump's new plan. Third, the refund crisis. But there's so much more in the background. The US dollar index has fallen more than 10%. When the dollar falls, gold and silver typically rise. Central banks are buying gold at record rates. They see the deficits, the instability, and they're protecting themselves. Physical supply is getting tight. 90 million ounces of silver left the COMEX and ETFs in 4 weeks. Historic. Silver jumped 145% in 2025. Gold was up 65%. This isn't a bubble. This is a fundamental repricing, the reality that fiat currencies are being debased. Physical assets matter. Mining stocks are having record quarters. First Majestic Silver reported blowout numbers. The entire sector is strong. When mining stocks and physical metals rise together, that's telling you something. It's a shift in wealth preservation. So where does all this leave us? What should you take away from everything we've discussed today? First, understand that the ruling is just the beginning. The legal battles and policy changes will keep coming. As long as uncertainty persists, gold and silver have strong tailwinds. They benefit from chaos. Second, the refund situation will dominate headlines for months. Watch how this develops. It's bullish either way. Third, don't ignore the broader trends. Dollar weakness, central bank buying, and industrial demand. These persist. Many investors treat gold and silver as insurance right now. You buy insurance before you need it, not after the fire. The fiscal crisis angle is critical. The ruling won't fix the debt problem or make politicians more responsible. Silver thrives when trust in fiscal prudence dies, when legal systems expose the fragility of political solutions. We're in unprecedented territory. Massive debt, political instability, and currency debasement are unique to our time. The Supreme Court tariff ruling is more than a legal decision. It's a signal, a warning that systems can change overnight. When systems become unstable, smart investors protect themselves. They diversify. They own real assets. Gold and silver are proving why they've been money for millennia. They don't depend on court rulings or politicians. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe. Drop a comment below with your thoughts. Stay informed, stay prepared, and I'll see you in the next video.